Okay.
Punk rock.
Hi, this is Gordon, your punk sociology host for the podcast.
And I am Don Robin, the co-host for this episode.
Today, we're going to talk about limbo as our topic, the limbo state in the Midwest area. Why am I talking about this topic? I think the Midwest is a strange place, partly because not just one person, but people feel like they're going to go somewhere else that is not here. So when I was in California, no one really was thinking about, oh, it's just a transition to somewhere else, so that no one was trying to say that, oh, I am dying to go somewhere else. Somehow in the Midwest, there's this like limbo-ness that I'm observing.
Yeah, I see some of that too. The Midwest is like the American interior. Everything that's not the coasts is like kind of a waiting room in a lot of ways. The majority of the people in the country, I guess, live here. Maybe that's not true, but it's a huge area, and a lot of people that live outside of sort of this coastal American dream, like going to Hollywood and getting famous, or being an actor in New York City, or going, to Chicago is kind of seen as like a getting out of the Midwest. Speaking in terms of like rural areas, which is the vast majority of this place, and I think it is very much a limbo. We're stuck in some old ways here. Things are not quite as nice as they are in the cities or in coastal areas. So, yeah, it's very much a limbo kind of place.
Today we have several people in the room. We have a master artist, a master actor, and then the co-host is a master barista and also former punk rocker.
Recovering punk rocker.
Right. Their names are Kelly, Ryan,
Hello.
and
Don.
transitioning. Let me ask the first question right away, which is, what is limbo, being in a limbo versus being settled? And what is it about the Midwest that causes this maybe limbo-ness?
What is it about the Midwest that makes it such an in-between kind of place?
Yeah, that is a perfect way of putting it.
I don't know. I personally think the Midwest specifically feels very stuck in a way, just because, like you said, settled. It seems like a place people go to settle down and like have a family. Like it seems like a great place to raise a family because it's very not so fast paced and very relaxed. But I think for young people especially, it can be a limbo because we don't want that right away. We want to go out and explore and do new things. And if you can't get out of that very complacent area, you feel very stuck. And I know a lot of people in my age range, which is like early 20s, feels that way.
So are you saying that people were raised at a pace that was sort of healthy for them for a while?
Yeah, when you're younger, I feel like people typically want like to raise their kids in like a smaller area, or at least my family did. They say it's like, I don't know, not as good for children to be raised in like cities and things like that. But then when you've been that your whole life, you're like, I don't want to continue to do that.
Yeah, you are from like this rural expanse. You're from rural Illinois, a town that I can never remember the name of. It's
Yes,
so rural.
it's called Mackinac, Illinois. It's got like, I think at this point, 2,000 people in it.
Okay.
It's very small and is the pinnacle of rural Illinois.
Yeah, so being from that place, like being of that place, you have no like urban origin, or like you're born and raised here. In what ways does that kind of in what ways do you find yourself waiting to get out or stuck in this area, if at all?
I mean, definitely stuck because my family's been here, and it's hard to want to leave that since I had close with them. And I've always been here, but that makes me not want to stay here, so I feel like I can't do any growing in the place that you like have always been.
Yeah.
Same people have known you forever, and it's like you want to go out and meet new people and do new things. There's not much to do in the Midwest, I guess, or like where I'm from. Like even just moving to Chicago would be an upgrade, even though it's like still in the Midwest technically.
Do you find like wanting to get out, like move to a city or like meet a more diverse group of people as like a reaction to your upbringing? Like, is it that Midwestern sense of family and everybody knowing you that you just kind of feel suffocated?
Yeah, no, I definitely like. There's some good community about everyone knowing you, but also then there's a lot of everyone's known everything you've ever done. It's hard to start anew for yourself. So I almost don't like that. I mean, I almost like coming to Macomb, which is another small town, and I know people, but they only know the me now, where I grew up, like everything I've ever done and things like that. Like, I mean, everyone knows everyone, but like, I want to meet new people all the time, I guess, and not have to be worried about seeing the same people when you go to Walmart every day.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. That's a very Midwestern phenomenon.
yes, especially like where I'm from. If I go to Casey's, people I graduated with still work there. And I don't think it's everyone who, where I'm from, wants to leave. There's a lot of people, start having families right out of high school and move there and stay there forever. But I think a lot of us who don't really fit in with the ideals of most small Midwestern towns want to get out as soon as possible.
So the people in the cases, they are not in a limbo because in some ways they are happy where they are at.
Yeah, they choose to be there.
Right. But then you feel like the pace or whatever it is that I don't know what you have done before. I only know you when you're a barista. But what are some of the things that you have done that is out of character?
For someone
Often-
from the Midwest?
Yeah.
Or
What are those Midwestern values like that you mentioned that you don't embody?
I mean, I don't want to generalize, but usually
Oh, go for it.
Midwestern people, it's a usually very red state, a lot more conservative views, which I don't really agree on, usually more religious, which I am also not, and just, certain values like that, I just never felt like I fit in. Always had felt a little outskirts in high school and things like that because of that, and want to be around people who have similar beliefs and views as I do, and usually they gravitate towards cities. So I feel like that's one big issue I have.
Hey, Ryan, you look like you have something to say.
How did you wind up here? How did you wind up in this little
Tell us
corner
a
of the
little bit about
Midwest?
I decided to go to college, being the first of my family to go off to college out of many generations, and decided to get a musical theater degree here at Western University. I kind of goofed up my last year, what was supposed to be my last year, and I ended up needing to take another semester.
An academic limbo.
Yes. So I took that academic limbo, decided to get a job that year as well. And yeah, I kind of just got stuck here with I graduated school and then kind of got into the flow of just the easiness of being in the Midwest.
Yeah. I hear a lot of people like talk about how they got here and their story ends with like, yeah, and I just never left.
Yeah.
Like sort of like it was the easiest option, which is what you just said. It was something about the easiness and like the complacency. So like, how do you think this area or the people here or the culture here or the politics here played a role you developing that complacency? Was it because of the specific events of like needing to stay in college longer or getting a job that coincided with that and it just working out? Or do you think there's like something more, something like a phenomenon here of people sort of getting tied into these like simple places in life that are hard to leave?
I guess for me I'm a big adventurer, so I like to go off and do things. And I think it made a great spot to just be able to come back to.
Yeah, like a home base.
Exactly. And so, I'd make decent money over the year. And then during the summertime, the last 4 years, I've taken off to Europe to do some volunteer at some festivals out there and meet international folk. Yeah, it makes it, like I said, it just really makes it easy to just build that money up. But at the same time, you're not getting anywhere because you're always having to come back to that home base and make the money again.
Yeah, I experienced a lot of that. Like I made this area, made Western Illinois my home about 3 years ago, and there's like a huge part of me that is like looks at this as like I will always come back here. This is like my home. I mean, I'm a native Illinoisan, although I'm not from this area, but like the Midwest is like base to me. I mean, I frequently travel. Last winter I was in Arkansas and New Mexico and spent the summer in New Hampshire. But yeah, being here is a great place to like build up a little cash because it's cheap to live and
And it
one
really
of the
is
cheapest places to live in the country.
Yeah, it really is a beautiful place too. I mean, you got the forests, and it's nice to be able to just go out there in nature whenever you want because it's right there. So that aspect of it, I always enjoy coming back to. But then we get these winters that kind of, I mean, I love snow, but then it kind of puts you in a, for myself, I have seasonal disorders, so it kind of puts me in a bad place during the wintertime.
Yeah, it's tough to recover from the average Midwestern winter,
God, yeah.
emotionally.
You need to defrost yourself.
Yeah.
That's one thing I've
Yeah.
realized. Technically, you can still go to the outdoor during the winter, right?
Yeah, I spent I spent the whole winter outside. I mean, I burn wood and at home, so like I'm always out chopping wood.
Making some snowmans
doing-
when we have
yeah,
the snow.
Go sledding.
Exactly.
Go sledding.
Chopping wood in the
Snowboarding.
winter?
Yeah, that's the time to do it.
Wow.
That's for another podcast. But that's the time of year to chop wood, if you didn't know, is the winter. Which it keeps you warm, I mean, you're chopping wood. It's a workout.
We usually chop wood to get ready for the winter.
I'm chopping wood this winter to get ready for next winter.
Okay, that's
When I actually visited San Diego last 2 years ago, I was carrying that Midwestern lifestyle of interacting with 10 people going to the same 3 places. Then when I came back, there weren't that much of a difference to me. As long as they are good places.
So,
And-
so in a lot of ways, like this community is as big as you need it to be.
I need to get out once in a while.
Yeah, for sure. But on a daily basis, I mean, believe me, so do I.
Yeah.
But on a
Yeah.
daily basis, I mean, I've only ever seen you outside from this podcast recording at the coffee shop and punk shows.
Oh, yeah, exactly. that is basically. There are 5 places. I realized that I just need to go. One is work. One is that I just need to stay home.
Yeah.
1, 2. So here's one thing that warrants another episode, which is how do you structure your home? Yeah, your station, your home base, which is a huge. Yeah, it's like when you go from one place to the next, it's a big expedition. So that you wake up from your station, and then you go to another, almost like a space station, which is called Sullivan Taylor.
Oh, that's a good way to think about
We're
it.
Yeah.
astronauts.
A satellite.
Then you go to another planet, which is a job, and then the third one would be the Sesame Garden, which is the.
Oh, I love
Hey.
Sesame.
Some Chinese.
And then the punk show would be the 5th spot.
Yeah.
So that is basically the entire galaxy right there.
Whoa. That spoken like a true introvert. Sorry, I didn't mean to pin you. And so, like, but you say you still have this like need to travel and go to bigger places and other places. Would you say
Yeah.
that is a way that you feel unsettled? And does keeping yourself a little unsettled keep you out of limbo?
Maybe I can turn the question back to the guest. What
Yeah.
What is the meaning of traveling outside of this environment, and what do people get when they do?
Why leave? We have everything.
I think a lot of it, almost as weird as it is, you travel, get different perspectives around, like, meet new people and things like that, but you almost get, in a way, an appreciation for the Midwest when you come back. You're like, wow, I don't hate it as much because I was gone for a couple months. It's almost like you have to go someplace else to realize that you do kind of like it. I don't know, I think traveling, you realize that not everyone is as friendly or whatever in the
Sure.
Midwest, not everyone talks to each other, goes to the same coffee shop every day. Especially traveling internationally, you learn a lot more, and then you come back and you appreciate the good things that you have here, and then, but also still long to see new things, because
Sure.
Because being here is not satisfying enough.
I
There's
don't
like-
think at this point in my life it isn't. Like, I mean, maybe one day when I'm older, but just so much to do and see. If I were to spend the rest of my life here, it would be very depressing. Even if I were to leave and come back, like, it's still not the same. Like, my family's always here, so I'll always leave and come back. This is my home base, like, this area. But if I were never to leave, I'd never appreciate it. So I'd never, you know, it's like, you gotta leave to
Oh, I totally
Yeah.
agree. You have to leave to come back.
refresh, restart, and then be like, oh, okay, this isn't too bad. Because we were talking about earlier, I do think a lot of people, when they're from rural areas or places that are smaller, they kind of romanticize other places a lot more. And sometimes it is good to go out and see them and be like, okay, maybe that place isn't for me, and maybe
Yeah.
I built it up in my head a lot.
Yeah, sometimes it's good. It's like the astronaut leaving, or like going to the moon only to take a look at the Earth and be like, oh, so that's what it's like. That's what it looks like from far away. Like sometimes you have to see your home or where you are from like an outside perspective, so that you can get a view of what it actually is like compared to something else.
Yeah, especially because when you're in it and you never leave, you kind of resent it a lot, I feel like.
But I think it's also kind of cool, you know, when you travel, that a lot of those ideals that you see from other cultures, you can bring those back and
Yeah.
put those into your daily life, and even talk about it with friends and stuff, and get their views on it. I found that really fascinating, being able to come back and having those conversations with a lot of friends.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you've been to where do you tend to go in the summers?
I start off in Amsterdam, Netherlands, and that one's just kind of a fun hurrah. And then, so I usually spend about 3 days there, and then I go over to Belgium, Herentals, Belgium, to be precise. It's actually a little tiny village, smaller than Macomb, believe it or not.
Traveling all that way.
Oh yeah, just to be in a smaller place. But it's incredible being able to. I don't. Sometimes I venture off into the little village and get to experience the society there, the people there. But for the most part, I'm working hard at building up this incredible festival. Everything is recycled, wood to metal to. I mean, they've used it for about 25 years now. We just had the 25th anniversary. But within that, like I said earlier, they bring in all these international people. So I get to meet people from Russia, from Taiwan,
Wow.
from Germany, from Russia, like all those.
Yeah,
And
Just a lot of different places.
that's cool.
Yeah, and I appreciate what you said about bringing the culture back in. So that in some way, we're not entirely insulated, because the coffee shop and my another space station, which is the pound shows, they do have people who constantly bring back things from other cultures.
Yeah.
So that they become a slightly different person, and then we interact in the Midwest with those cultures. Some of us are in bands, so that they would travel to different locations in the Midwest or in Alabama or in some other places. Then the universities also has that.
Oh yeah, that brings a
inflow.
lot. That does a lot to keep this area from not being a rinky-dink little Midwestern hamlet. Like,
Agreed.
there's
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
culture coming into this area
Always new
because of the
people.
university.
International
Yeah.
students, people from different states.
So even though we're in a Midwest, we are not necessarily have to live like other people in the Midwest.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's 2019.
Like where I'm from.
It's very
Is this not
true.
2019? American Off?
Yeah.
God, no.
So this brings us to the second question, which is, what does being settled really mean? So that if we are going to be, let's say if this is a limbo state, I mean, we can live like in a limbo state forever, or we can have a feeling of being settled.
I just wrote down that being settled is basically not wanting to leave. Like once you finally
Oh, wow.
built up your home, your family, whatever, the people you want to surround yourself with, and you don't want to leave, I feel like that's when you're settled.
Settled, yeah.
Yeah, when you, like, not even like, 10 years later, like, you don't want to leave. Like, I live here, this is my home now.
That's interesting. Yeah, I
Very
mean,
deep.
like, yeah, when you've like, settling from what? Maybe from that, like, searching for those
Yeah.
things, searching for the friends you will have for the rest of your life, searching for the family that you will make and grow and
Yeah,
all that.
like my sister recently just settled in a small town near my small town, but like she totally settled. She bought her forever home. She says is now has a kid on the way. So you're starting to put roots that make it harder for you to get up and leave. I feel like.
So Kelly, I know you're a master artist. So
Thank you.
like if you can have all the chance you want, all the opportunities, all the right money going on your way, where may you want to be settled in, or what kind of lifestyle does it have to be outside of the Midwest? what scene do you feel like can accommodate you to settle in?
That's a hard question almost, because there's so many places I think I'd like to live, but I haven't been there. Like, I really thought about the West Coast or Colorado or things like that. Sorry, you can hear people.
Yeah. As you mentioned, this is a college town, so there are partiers.
Yes, which
Yeah,
is
it's on a,
very
you're on a Monday
regular.
night.
For me, I want to travel around to see where I want to live, I guess. But at the heart of it, I need a place that has, a thriving art scene, a place I could make a career, a future. Nothing, hopefully, like too huge is what I'm looking for. Maybe like a big city doesn't feel like insanely big. I studied abroad for a semester in St. Petersburg, and that was a big city, but it felt very slow and chill. And I think being from the Midwest, I don't want something that's so hustle bustle that's like almost overwhelming. So I kind of have to look around a little bit for that. And it'd be amazing long term to like live overseas, but like that just seems a little impossible. But I want to like travel around for a while and figure it out. But basically, in a place that has like art and is affordable to live.
So basically, you know what is not satisfying and what is more satisfying to you right now, but you cannot maybe envision a place that is so good that you're just going to be there.
Yeah, it is a little just kind of thinking about like, I don't know, most people my age I feel like want to go to the West Coast and things like that. That stuff sounds great. Sounds very, more forward moving and things like that I would like to join that. But I don't know if it would be a good fit until I travel out there. So luckily I have some friends in Colorado that I'm going to see if that's a good fit, want to live there. But I just know I don't want to stay here. So it's just kind of figuring out where my puzzle piece fits in, I guess.
Can you imagine yourself feeling as familiar with a place as you do with, like, the Midwest or as you do with your home? Can you imagine yourself feeling that familiar with another place?
Yeah,
Can you
I
imagine
think
yourself
so.
feeling that settled?
I do think so. I feel like I'm really good at adapting, so it just needs some time to adjust and then meeting some new people. I mean, I came to Macomb, which is not arguably big to most people, but it's big to me. And I didn't know a single person, and I feel like I've made a little stamp of a home here. So, like, I feel like I have the skills to do that in the future. It's just the time and the money and everything to go do that. I don't know. I'm not too worried about that, in all honesty. You just have to make a couple friends, and then I have a lot of interests like art and music that are usually pretty good with like integrating into the culture. I don't know. I hope so, at least. I mean, I feel like I've made Macomb my home, and I'm not from here. And yeah, I don't know. I'm just repeating myself. But I
you
think
are
so. I believe myself enough. Like, it makes me want to leave because I know that I will feel that feeling other places, and that this isn't the only place where you can feel you belong,
How about you, Ryan? Do you think you'll kick up a lot more dust before you find some place to settle, or do you feel like there's something in the Midwest that you are intrigued by that might make you settle here?
No.
That was an either-or question.
There is like one theater, maybe.
Well, where are you going to go? Where are you going to feel settled?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Kelly here. I know there's something out there. I think that's what makes it hard to get out of here, though, is I want to be able to go have those experiences in other places, which is not to say you can't. It's just you gotta have money for number one. It's kind of a downfall, but it's life, I guess.
How much money do you need to?
In dollars.
More than I have.
No,
Yeah,
I think that's something that, like, I think what you're describing totally is the definition of Midwestern limbo in some ways.
It is.
This like vague desire to go see something else and like to get out somewhere and do something else besides the Midwest.
Grass is green on the other side kind
Oh,
of thing.
course. Yeah. And when I was, when I had just graduated from college, the first thing I did was head west. And I, lived in New Mexico for a while and spent 3 years in California because I was a Illinoisan. It was immensely appealing to me. I felt like that's where like it all was. I'm doing air quotes right now for those of you at home.
But yeah, I mean, almost most people I know, I think Ryan included, we both talked about we want to move to like West Coast because like it just sounds like that's where everything is, and everyone
Of
talks
course,
about it.
it does
and
sound like that's where everything is.
So it sounds very appealing for people who I feel like don't have much going on, like life wise, like I mean, city wise and things like that. Like I want to go where everything's happening, where all the people are going,
Yeah.
And that's why I've kind of given Portland's definitely been on my mind a lot. what I love about it is that it, you get that city life, but at a way slower pace. It's almost, I guess I can't really call it Midwestern, but the people there and the pace of it all is just very.
It's an easier integration than just going straight to like New York City and living there. Yeah,
Exactly.
Like
Yeah,
LA.
I have many friends. My whole thought right out of college was to go straight to Chicago. Being an actor, I'm like, okay.
Where are you from originally again?
Fort Madison, Iowa, home of the rodeo.
Home of the rodeo.
And the Sweet Corn Festival.
Only rodeo in America.
Yeah, and going back to what Kelly said a while back ago, it was a great town to grow up in. As a kid. But it does give you that motivation to want to get out of there. And so Chicago was actually in my mind since I was probably 6, 7 years old. I think I took my first trip to Chicago with my grandparents when I was like 6. And I was like, yes, this is the place to be. This is where I'm going to be when I get out of college. Because at that time I knew I was going to college. It was thrown at me by every person in my family. And maybe that's why I'm stuck in limbo, because I'm going against my family. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
No, I'm not.
I know the
gonna
feeling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. I want to stay on what you just said, because I think it's that's a very Midwestern phenomenon, is going that salvation is in the city. I think for a lot of different kinds of people, the city is where it's at, where you can actually find what you're looking for and find more people like you. In
the community.
Yeah, a community. In my experience, it's kind of a crapshoot as much as it is in the Midwest. When I lived on the West Coast and was part of a massive, thriving punk scene, I was just telling Gordon earlier, most of the people that I knew, I only knew at shows, and it was very surface level. And yeah, it looked like the community that I wanted, but it was also just hey, how you been since the last show? And I didn't have real connections with these people in a way that I found just flows more naturally in the Midwest. People are open here. I mean, 5 people waved at me while we were driving today. Nobody's going to wave at you in their car.
I'm not gonna lie, that's
California.
part of what I don't like.
Oh, well, you're from here.
I just like to not talk to people or be seen. So. Wait, I mean, that's not
you
always
may have a better
bad.
chance of finding more people like that.
I mean, when I want to talk to someone, we can make a connection, but please don't talk to me otherwise.
I kind of always had that thought too. That's why I always wanted to move to Chicago, because it's no one's gonna know you and da. And
wow, that's
yeah, I loved that factor that I could just be left alone.
I mean, what you guys are describing, I feel is the majority of most people feel like that. But for me, I moved to the most desolate rural area possible because I knew I could kind of hide out. There's some anonymity in living in a rural area.
Well, the thing is that even though you're in the Midwest, you still don't have to talk to people.
But what I find hard about that, because I'll be honest, the last year or so, I've kind of put myself in that situation of not really experiencing things with people. I kind of sheltered myself. It makes you a little stir crazy, You kind of have to experience things with people. I think that's kind of human nature. I don't know where I was going with this.
Well, I think we're just discussing whether to wave at people when they wave.
Yeah, I mean, I live on country roads, and it's very you pass a car, you give them the 2 little fingers of the wave, and drive by each other. It's
I live for that.
I don't mind it. Every time I do it, I'm like, it's so weird. Why? I don't know you. Why am I waving to you? I guess it's more stranger interaction. I don't like it as much when it's so much normal. It makes me sound like such a mean person, but
No,
to be at a
gotcha.
grocery store and people just want to have small talk, and I just don't want to.
Oh,
And that's one thing I loved when I lived in a larger city for a small time in Russia. No one talked to me, and I really enjoyed that. If I wanted to make friends, I could, and I could have meaningful conversations. But it wasn't just you weren't expected to have a conversation with someone waiting in line. Some reason in the Midwest, it feels like they have to fill empty space all the time, and you have to make a connection no matter where you are. And I just don't feel like that's necessary, and I like to be to myself a little bit more.
Yeah, it does feel a little obligatory.
Yeah, you can start having philosophical conversations with them.
I don't
after
want
they
that
wave at
either.
you.
Yeah.
I find that to be a trick, because usually they wave at you and then they start talking about the weather.
Yeah.
And how it
Very
changed from
small talk.
yesterday.
That
then-
is some limbo
Yeah.
material
It
right
is.
there.
And that's it. But then when I go to the coffee shop, if they wave at me, I'm gonna ask them something. Like it usually quickly turn into something.
Yeah, but you're not a stranger at that point. Like you come in all the time, so we have actual conversation. It's different with like
Yeah.
a stranger, I think, is
Oh,
what I
that
mean.
is true.
Like they're, and some places must likely to a stranger to reach out. But if you have a connection already, I don't mind talking. It's just like
Right. So I have a question for both Kelly and Ryan. Does being settled really have to tie to say career, or is it more like being in an everyday living environment?
Like a state of mind, or literally like where you are, not so much what you're doing.
you mean we're not settled because we're not in the career we want, kind of.
Yeah. At first that's what I thought. Maybe the environment doesn't provide, say, enough of an art market, the high
That's very
art
true.
market.
It doesn't.
Or
though.
postmodern art or whatever, or and it doesn't have a big scene in theater. There's no Broadway in Macomb, if you can believe it.
Surprisingly.
So-
I have done the Macomb Community Theater,
prestige.
but no, there is no
Okay.
Broadway.
But then let's say for Ryan, do you have to have a dream career and attain that in order to be settled? Because from what I hear from Ryan, like Ryan is actually pretty happy, even in a Belgium village, as long as the people are different. So
Actually, it's funny you say that because that is something I've been really struggling with the last few years. Is I want to. I guess I really want to have the living environment aspect, but also to have the theater aspect, and so that's kind of what's kept me in limbo here. Is it's kind of hard to find both of those, but I think that's something I love about Portland is it kind of offers that. It has the more nature aspect of things that I'm really looking for and the people that I'm looking for. I have experienced it a bit, and I've gone to a festival out there. It's a very hippy dippy festival, so of course you're gonna meet
the
people who
cream
want
of the friendly.
or nude people running everywhere and people on shrooms and
I think
stuff
I
like
know
that.
you from a past life.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
You should
What was the
move here.
question again? I'm sorry. I kind of.
oh no, like so that I'm just saying you don't have to be a Broadway successful big name actor.
Yeah,
What's the thing that's going to make you settle somewhere?
I
What's the number one factor in your life, or what's the, what are the few factors in your life that you think about having in place to feel settled?
I think for me it is more of the environment and the people.
Would you be okay living in Portland if you never acted again?
Oof.
It would be hard. It'd be tough because I do find myself not being able to use my art form. I find myself going a little crazy, not being able to express certain things. But I guess one of my problems is I've always used theater as a way to express my feelings.
Yeah, for sure.
And being settled, no, not settled, but in limbo in Macomb has really, and not acting as much as I'd like to, has really, and not having the close friends I had in college, it's kind of made me aware of how I use my art as a way to express my feelings, which I think for most people who, do art, or I shouldn't say do art, but art in general is a way to express as well.
Oh yeah.
I'm not an
Kinda-
actor, so can you give like an example that when you're in a role, how does that help you express who you are? When was the last time you acted?
I actually just did a show last year, right before summer. I don't really know how to describe how it expresses myself more than it just gets certain feelings within, which I guess would be expressing myself.
Mm-hmm.
But through the character, I get to be able to have have feelings come out of me that I usually hold back, that I keep inside of me.
And maybe that's something not everyone could do.
So maybe
And
not.
maybe you're good at it. too.
Maybe, I don't know.
That takes
I also
practice.
love just being able to express other people. That's what I love about going off to Europe the last 4 years, being able to observe and see these different types of people, and then being able to use that as a device when it comes to theater.
Wow. I'm just thinking about it, like you seem to have a different vision because when you let's say go to a place, you're not looking for just things to eat, for example. You're not just like watching people either. You're thinking about how there's maybe a flow of emotions because you're an actor, so that you are thinking about the confluence of that kind of dynamics and recreating them. Maybe interest you. Maybe you're gravitated to it. Those kind of. Um, I'm running out of words here, but I mean, some people find that medium maybe in the painting stuff, some in writing, right? So that maybe I'm just thinking when you say that it's going to be hard for you in Portland, maybe it is because you like that kind of things at a very deep level.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kelly, what are your thoughts on this? What's going to make you feel settled in this world? What is your search for?
Yeah, I thought about that recently about like, I plan to move out of Macomb soon to a slightly larger town in Illinois to then move further, just making like kind of baby steps. And I realized like I like the community of the people I have here because I have a lot of friends from college. I have the friends at the coffee shop, and I enjoyed that aspect. But the career aspect of my life is very stunted because of the area, and I know that like I eventually have to get out of, potentially Illinois, unless like Chicago or something, go to a larger area that has more art because I feel very like if I were to stay here longer, very stunted in my career, similar to Ryan. Like there's just not really a community for it, and I don't know, I'd feel very stuck if I were to stay like career wise. Like I do enjoy in limbo, exactly. I do enjoy the people I'm surrounded with, but I need a place that I could find that community similar to here, I guess, with friends and things, and then also have like a place that I can have a career. So I feel like a lot of people come here and that they have a career for it. Like it's easier to settle down because they're like, okay, this aspect I can, of my life I can check off the box, like is satisfied, and now I just make like a home with friends and everything else here. But I think the main thing for me is career. Like if I had a great art scene here and career that I could like make a living off of, I don't think I'd be as wanting to leave as much as I do. But I know I can't go forward in the certain career I want to here, which makes me feel even more stuck and more in limbo.
Yeah, I was gonna kind of say that because it is funny because Macomb's very different than any Midwestern, like we said, because of the college. But there's actually a huge art scene here, not just as a artist, but also there is quite a bit of theater. Well, one theater, and then I think the community, I believe, can also audition for college shows if they want. It doesn't mean they're always going to get them because they want to offer it to their students first. But there is, we have the art center here as well. But it is, I have found it strange how, I could be doing theater constantly here if I want to, but what is it that's wanting I don't know what it is that I want to drive out of here. Or I don't know what I'm trying to explain, but I just find it strange that the art scene there is an art scene here, but there's something that's within both of us, I believe. I don't want to speak for you, that we have this drive that there's something, I don't know, bigger out there, I guess.
I mean, I do think it's a small art scene. It exists.
Yeah,
I don't think it's enough to make a living
You don't feel
off
like it's
of.
enough to support?
Yeah, to support
make a living
myself.
off of.
Because, like, I remember talking to even my art professors and then just being like, this area is great for some things, but, like, you don't get to see a bunch of art openings on the weekends and things like that. There isn't as many galleries if you were to, like, go downtown, like Chicago. Like, there's not as many resources and things to do in that field. Like, there's
the pool is way smaller.
The pool's smaller. Yeah, there's less to get involved with. Less places to find, I feel like, where you fit in with the art things or whatever area, you may be in. Like, we have the art gallery and then there's, like, the art center here. And so there's only, like, a couple galleries, and versus, like, bigger cities have, like, so many. And just so many more places to show your artwork or to make connections. Like, I feel like I've met everyone here who's in the art scene. So, like,
right. But then if you are able to make a living here at, say, $500,000 a year of income,
$500,000.
will either of you be okay?
Corn.
Will either of you be okay settling in Macomb?
Oh yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. If I were to make that kind of money being here, probably, because then I could just go travel for a while.
Sure.
Like,
But
I don't know. I guess I would still kind of feel empty.
See, I think in a lot of ways, just like everything is scalable. Like, yes, the pool is small here for creative people, and there are not as many opportunities to thrive as an artist. I mean, I've experienced the same thing with music and visual art here. It's just like there's only so many opportunities and so many people that are going to come see your stuff.
Yeah.
In the city, yes, there's a lot more people, and the pool is way bigger, but there's a lot more people swimming in it. Like how many people move to LA to become a famous actor, and how many people just like die doing
Yeah.
that? You know, I mean, when I lived in Taos, New Mexico, which is like a very famously historic art community for pottery and photography. All things that I felt like, yeah, I could do something in this world in pottery or photography, but because it was I don't want to say Taos is urban, but because it was an established area and it was a thriving arts community, the people on top were on top in a way that I felt made it hard to break into that scene. Or in LA, everybody's trying to be an actor, and if you want to be known, it's going to take a lot more than being known as like, yeah, you know, maybe a local theater star with a lot lower stakes, or someone who just hangs some stuff up like in the community gallery every once in a while. I do also think there's a lot of room here because it's like an empty, abandoned place. There's room to do what you want. Yes, you're never going to make as much, but maybe you don't need to here. It's so dang cheap.
I definitely do like agree with the pool's filled with a lot more people who are all trying to do the same thing as you when you move bigger places. I think a lot of it's like even if maybe wasn't going to work out moving out there because it's too much competition or whatever didn't stick out, I think I'd still feel a little weird and stuck if I never tried.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that's a big one.
Absolutely.
Like you had your moment of moving out there and then figuring it out and trying and being like, okay, maybe I do enjoy being here and being in this area.
Yeah, I had to.
Yeah, you
do
have
that.
to almost, like I said, like leave to come back and realize you still like it and things like that. Because you never know to try, and I feel like that's part of what drags me down a little bit is being like, I could do this, I could go out and try something new, and maybe it would work out. You never know. Like, but
I guess that's kind of been my fear about it, though, the whole big pool of it all, because I have many friends who ended up going to Chicago, and I go out there usually every other month or so. I've seen what it's done to them. They're also actors, actresses. It's kind of ate them alive, Yeah. They've kind of lost their personhood, and it's kind of hard to, when I'm there, enjoy time with them because their head's not in quite the right place, and that's a little judgmental of me, but it does eat them alive. I mean, I have a friend he's in a show right now, but he also, you got to have your day job. Because it's the city, you gotta have money to be able to, live. And the city's so much more expensive. But he goes to work at like 6:30, 7 in the morning.
Oh my God.
He gets off at 5:30 in the evening. Goes home for like a half an hour and then goes straight to rehearsal. To not get out of rehearsal until about midnight. 12:30, sometimes 1 o'clock.
Yeah. Do you feel like he's like living in that moment as like accomplishing what he set out to accomplish, or do you think a lot of his energy is going to like doing that intense daily schedule for like the shot at quote unquote making it someday? You think people go to the city and basically burn out trying to make it?
Yeah, I do think it's kind of his way of making it his shot,
Yeah.
But I think I know he enjoys it as well,
Sure.
and he's got to have it in his life. But I almost wonder, is it worth losing who you are as an individual?
Well, in Kelly's words, he has tried. At least.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
tried.
he is. Yeah, he has. He's done more
tried.
than I have, and that's why I can't really. I shouldn't even be speaking about it, but because he at least took the leap. rather than
Yeah.
myself.
Because you can always come back to almost this area as a safety net if it doesn't work out.
Yeah, but you might be a little more jaded.
Exactly.
Oh, much more.
But as long as you're not saying his name, it's okay to mention his experience.
I mean, I know people very similar story,
Yeah.
especially in Chicago, because I feel like it's most people from this area. Like that's the closest kind of like larger city to go to. But
Yeah, so this leads us to the third part or third question, which is, at some point, what is it like to give up the transition decision? Or a person like your friend, for example, even in Chicago, maybe he is feel like he's in a limbo too, not in the same way in a Midwestern town. So, what would happen?
What do you mean? Like, what would happen if someone gave up on their dreams and decided to just settle before they accomplished what they set out to?
All of us were taught to achieve a dream when we were like 3 years old. Well, I mean,
Somewhere in
elementary school.
when we were
you're told you can do anything, kind of.
Yeah. But then being in a limbo partly means that we wanting to, like maybe we will end up at a different state as we wanted to be
sure.
ending up at. We're still moving
Yeah.
to, whether we like it or not, to different kind of states. So can you envision something happening that you will give up a decision and maybe finding a next one or something?
Like give up trying to get out of limbo, or give up.
Yeah, or maybe you'll just let go of an idea.
Of your dream.
Yeah.
Sure.
Giving up your dream.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know I have like a weird thing with wanting to get out of the Midwest, not even like really making it, but just wanting to get out of this area. And if I don't, I feel like a failure. Like I'm just trapped here like everyone else from my high school. Like it's not even like I want to move to LA and become a famous actress. It's more like I just want to move out of this place because I don't know, I talk with other friends from back home and we're all just, I don't want to say like judge people for staying, but we just don't understand how they can and things like that. And like, and I never want to be that person who stayed. So for me, it's almost like a very personal thing. I would feel personally like a failure and almost kind of embarrassed if I didn't get out of
Whoa.
this area. No,
Sure.
yeah, it's like it's
totally.
embarrassing that I still am here for some reason. I don't know why, because like a lot of people from my hometown are very happy staying here. But I feel so like a failure if I'm not able to get out of. It's like this small town, living in a lonely world kind of thing.
Absolutely agree with you.
Yeah. So
I have. Sorry, go on.
I was gonna say just failure, I guess, is
Yeah.
the best way to say that for myself.
I feel that all the time. Like I have, my college professors coming into the coffee shop most days, and like, it's just a little awkward. Like, oh yeah, you're still here after 3 years. It's nothing like that. But in my head, it's like that.
I completely agree.
You make up this whole reality in your mind, but I know they're generally wanting to know like how your life is going right now, but it still plays in the back of your head like, oh man, I bet they're just like, he's still here,
Floundering.
But
Yeah.
but if you're a person who has tried and come back here, you're a different person maybe.
Yeah, I think
You at least
I've
did
met a
something.
lot of people. But at the same time, I also feel like a failure for not going off and
Doing
trying
something
it,
original.
trying something different, original, and
So basically, the key is that you can give something up, but only after you have done a big try.
I mean, I honestly, I'd still feel like a failure if I tried and came back. For some reason, in my own mind, I'd feel like I did it. But like, I'd probably care a little too much what other people think. They're like, oh, she's back because she failed in the big city kind of thing.
What?
I was going to say, but
Ugh, I feel
at that
all
point,
the
I would
time.
just move to a different like area. Like I would just not come
Keep
back to
moving.
this, but
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
never stop moving. Like a shot.
yeah,
Yeah, I know that feeling.
there's always something new out there,
Yeah.
That's like, to answer something you were asking earlier, Gordon, like what will make me feel settled is to never settle, to like keep traveling. Like,
Snaps to that.
Like, yeah, I'll probably have a home base and it will probably be like my, cute little situation here in the Midwest. But if I don't travel, I'll feel like I'm in limbo.
Yeah.
If I don't go try something new, I'll feel like I'm in limbo. And as long as I'm like moving, I feel settled.
Wow. I think that's actually very deep.
No, I completely agree, though.
What if all of you end up at a spot one day when coming back to the Midwest is of your own decision, so that you don't have to come back?
I feel like I'd owe my family like $20 if I did that. 'Cause I said I'd never do that.
I mean, my decision to move here was like, this is not an area that I'm from at all. I'm from suburban hell near Chicago. Like, the country meant nothing to me growing up, and I completely chose this area.
Oh.
I feel like that makes it a little better, though.
It makes it a little better, yeah.
You choose to be here versus you're stuck, or you feel like
Yeah.
you have no choice of being here.
Yeah. But I know my experience, not a lot of people choose to live here. And a lot of people who are from here definitely choose to leave.
But then there's some people I know who want to stay here and like are trying to build up Macomb specifically into making it a better place to live, which I think is very admirable. But I just
That's,
I don't know.
that dichotomy, like, what do you do? Do you, like, ditch the sinking ship? Or, like, do you stay here and try to make it better?
Try to
Like I said
repair it,
earlier,
yeah.
like, there's a lot of room here to do what you want creatively because there's not a lot of people doing those things. Like, you know, if you want to be the person that, like, starts some cool new organization in town, like, well, here, like, nobody's doing it because there's nobody here.
Yeah, but will it continue well if they don't have the people to support it? Sometimes is a problem.
Yeah, we want what we create to last, to have some lasting impact. And
Like
here it
most
seems
restaurants, I feel like don't last here.
yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Yeah, it's like nobody wants to be another like restaurant on the square that was open for 6 months and then
Yeah,
became a tattered awning.
I do think that the things people are doing here in the music and art has made living here, I don't want to say tolerable, but enjoyable for what I'm here for. Like the area, like I'm just here saving money and then I'm gonna move hopefully. But without the art and music scene, I feel like it'd be a very miserable
It's been a
place.
springboard, yeah.
Yeah, so it's been really nice to have that small community of people who have similar wants
Yeah.
and interests.
When I moved here, like, I very much had this mentality, like, oh, I gotta get a music scene going, gotta make some music happen in this town. And then I like started going to shows at the apartment and like seeing people play at this open mic I go to, and I was like, oh shit, like there is a music scene here. Like there's something happening.
Yeah.
It's not as much of a network about it as there is in a more urban area, but like, yeah, there is enough of some of those things happening. I'm
Enough
sure
to
you
wet
don't
your
feel
whistle.
that way with, huh?
Enough to dip your finger
yeah.
in it.
Yeah, totally. I'm sure, Ryan, like you don't feel the same way with theater. Like there's not like a
No.
like a punk
yeah.
theater.
No,
Like
there's
people
not.
just doing like crazy
Yeah,
plays in
yeah.
someone's attic.
Well,
We could
And
do
that-
that.
yeah, we could do
And
that.
that's the hard part is
'Cause
that
nobody's
like
doing it.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed most of my time at the Macomb Community Theater, but it's run by
You're being recorded right now.
Older.
older folk who are very kind of conservative, and the whole like committee is it's same like kind of older. Yeah, they're kind of reserved, and they don't want to do the shows that actually will. That's not to say every show has some kind of impact on someone, but they don't do that nitty gritty, deep type material.
safe
Yeah.
They're very
Nobody's
safe.
pushing the brain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. We finally broke through about a year ago. I did a buddy of mine directed myself in a show where the character most of the time, like the whole show was in his underwear, and that's probably the dirtiest that they've ever gotten. Yeah, and but yeah, they just don't really want to do that stuff that makes people think.
Yeah.
It's that light and fluffy summer stock type stuff, and I'm looking for the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
I want
Yeah,
to make
some
people
movement.
think.
I feel like for music and art, it's a little easier with, being able to go out of the norm or whatever, just because it's ran by younger people, like in the community. I know the Art Center is similar issue. It's run by like older people. Nothing against old people.
No, there's nothing against. Love my love.
Just
Old
And they
people
don't-
can be in their underwear too.
yeah, but they just don't do much to get the younger people involved and things like that. Like I know most people.
Or to do things they're not comfortable with.
Yeah, the most people don't go to the art center that I know because it's not much happening with.
No, it's stuff that young
true,
people
though.
just aren't interested in.
It's very just basic art. I don't know, like not in a rude way, but
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, it's like it's mainstream. It's like
Yeah.
if Macomb has
It's
a
what people who
main street-
don't like
a mainstream art
like-
gallery, yeah.
people who don't like art which is just like very Thomas Kincaid paintings, very like beautiful little house in the forest kind of thing, and it's not interesting or pushing the boundaries at all. It's just.
Wait a minute.
For
Van
the
Gogh
community.
did sunflowers. What are you
That
trying to
was
say?
way back. That was the
And that's even different than when we're like I feel like the
No, I
certain
know.
style of sunflowers
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I know a lot of people in like our generation feel that way very much. Like you said, like what is happening in the mainstream galleries, whether it's in this, this area or in the city, like what's happening in those mainstream spaces. The mainstream theater or the only theater in this case. It's just not for them. It doesn't apply.
Yeah, it doesn't really reflect. I feel like the younger people. as much
Exactly,
and what's
exactly.
going
And so
on.
there is that need for like punk spaces, like underground spaces, and here in a place with a pretty low population and a low population density, like it's just harder to get all of those weirdos in one space.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, like you can do individual things to make waves and make an impact, but like there's not as much of a network. I don't know.
Yeah, and you can't convert them into weirdos quick enough.
no,
Because they have other
Unfortunately,
institutions.
I
not.
feel like it does the opposite.
I tried when I had my art show up. I tried to push the boundaries, but I think I just scared people.
Good.
That's
That's what you're supposed to do. I couldn't because I had to work, but I watched the live video of it.
Yes. I ran around screaming a 60s John Denver tune, or 70s, I don't know, with duct tape on my titties. It was awesome. It was
'Cause
awesome.
I'm leaving.
But that's the stuff that would never be in the art center.
No way.
But should be. Like
know.
that we should have more of because it's interesting and it gets people talking and like you said, push boundaries and has something to say more than just
Yeah.
pretty picture or safe play.
Yeah, I think this is why I gravitated to the punk scene several years ago. Now we're wrapping up. Why don't you do it?
Well, Gordon, this has been a lovely conversation. Thank you for having us all here today.
Thank you for having
Yeah,
us.
thank
Oh,
you,
no
Gordon.
problem. It's great to have all of you here.
Maybe we should each go around and talk about where you can find us online, how you can follow us. Ryan.
I don't really have anywhere to be followed.
Ryan lurks in the shadow.
Just come to Sullivan
I mean,
Taylor's.
yeah, just come to Sullivan Taylor's. I really like to be eye to eye, mano y mano with people. So you can find me on Instagram if you want, at Ryan Hoppman. But that's about it. There's no artwork or theater or anything on there as of right now. So, Kelly.
Okay, you can follow my art at Kelly_Brown_art. And then I also have an Etsy I'm trying to get off the ground to start selling some stuff. I believe it is capital K, capital B art.
KB Art.
KB Art
See you
44.
there. See you there.
Yes.
I'm writing that down.
KB Art 44. That is the name of my shop, and I would appreciate even just a follow would be nice because I just started it recently, and I think my goal is to just find a way to sell art.
Okay.
So if
what
you
kinds of things do you have on there right now?
screen prints, watercolors,
Awesome.
yeah, stuff like that. I will have T-shirts up soon.
Oh,
So
Kelly is the maker of the famous Sad Bitch shirt
yes.
Oh, wow.
that you may
That's
have
her.
seen around Macomb. That's her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm starting those, still selling those.
You didn't know just how much it meant when you put master artist next to Kelly's name.
So yeah,
Now I
follow.
do.
You can follow me and Ryan, and hopefully watch our dreams come true of getting out
Yeah.
of the Midwest.
Yeah. Good luck.
I've already let go of all my dreams, so if you want to see what that's like, you can follow me on Instagram
I'm excited
at
for
you can
my
just search
future.
my name, Don Robin, or I think my handle is with a period between each word, just another diamond, the letter A. It's a reference to an old folk song.
Yeah.
Or yeah, I also have some music online. As Gordon said, I am a former punk rocker, and now I am an acoustic whisperer. So you can find me at thedawnrobin.bandcamp.com. I just put out a little EP.
Oh hell yeah!
And
I'll
did a-
listen
It's
to
did a
that.
full length in the
fantastic. I
spring.
listened to the whole album.
Oh, that was. I can see when people listen. I guess that was you, huh?
I loved it.
Cool, cool. Ryan loves it. So,
And Dawn and I are starting a punk band.
yes,
soon,
we
so
are.
Look out
Yes,
for
it's
that.
in its infancy, but yeah, we're starting a hard girl band. All right, Gordon,
I
can
could
we
try.
find you online anywhere? Are you an internet ghost,
No,
or are you an internet limbo?
no. But for those of you who are curious about what Macomb is like, there is an old website that
Would that
I-
be MacombCollective.com?
It is MacombCollective.com. Yes, it was Macomb Creativity Collective. That was the early days when we tried to do some kind of creative stuff in town, but people can still see what the town is like and what the underground scene look like in the Midwest.
Maybe we could even revive that.
That is an interesting idea. You can do it. The website is still up, so but maybe yeah, perhaps. Life is full of possibilities.
Yes, yes, it is.
On this note, thank you everyone for coming, and I will see you at the next episode.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay.
So